Hey everyone, so I hope you'll watch this video all the way through. Please watch this video all the way through. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this video. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video probably. But to be honest, I really don't care at this point. So recently Congress approved $858 billion for our new military budget. And the question I want to ask is, what the heck are we doing, right? If you look at this military budget, it calls for $10 billion over the next 5 years to go to Taiwan, when the United States does not even recognize Taiwan as a country, right? We are to the point where our government is spending billions of dollars on things without really anybody questioning why we're doing this or what it has to do with anything, right? And I'm not sure if it's because people are unaware of it or if people just don't care. And either way, it doesn't matter. When we look at our military budget, it's about $80 billion greater than the next 9 countries combined, which makes 0 sense. That means that our military budget is designed for us to essentially fight 9 other countries without any other support or help. We like to think of ourselves as the peacekeepers of the world, but our budget is designed to be the creators of chaos, right? Within that budget, only $173 billion goes to paying service members and service member retirement benefits, right? So that means that about 700 billion of that is just to the actual military effects. In addition to that 173 billion for service members, there's about $336 billion in the budget for the Department of Veterans Affairs, right? And so that means that every year we are spending over $1 trillion on our military and veterans when we aren't even fighting a war, right? On top of that, don't forget, our country also provided $68 billion to Ukraine, and we're likely to give them another $37.7 billion. We are about to give a random country over $100 billion when there are plenty of issues that we need to fix right in our own country, right? I emailed my concerns to all 3 of my representatives, which is what you are supposed to do as a citizen, and I received generic responses from them that didn't even acknowledge my concerns. I'm pretty sure it was just some assistant typing up a generic response. It might have even been just a copy and paste whenever somebody sends a letter about a specific subject, right? Because within those letters, it didn't even address that I was upset about the money we were sending to Ukraine. It just said that we would continue to support Ukraine. So they obviously did not even read what I had to say. And at what point, do we as Americans, do we as a country say enough is enough, right? The beautiful thing about our democracy is that we are supposed to be able to voice our concerns and our government will listen to us. And I'm not sure if people are too busy with their everyday lives to stop and question what's going on, or if people don't really care. But, when the Afghanistan war ended, our military budget increased. Our military budget went up. How does it make sense that we ended a 20-year war and our military budget increased, right? And I think just the worst thing for me is that there are so many things that we could spend even just a fraction of that money on to make American lives so much better and so much easier. So here's just a couple things that we could spend that money on. Ending homelessness in the U.S. would only cost about $20 billion. So less than half of what we sent to Ukraine would actually provide jobs, housing, and food for all homeless people in America. And that's not even annually. Annually, they would have to adjust that number. Free college for all, Bernie Sanders' free college for all plan, it was labeled as $700 billion, but that $700 billion was over a decade period. So it would actually only cost $41 billion annually to let every American in the country go to college for free. Not that much money when you think about what we're spending our money on right now. And then one of my favorites is if we wanted to establish a high-speed rail system that went from New York to Los Angeles and connected the entire Midwest, right? And this is high-speed rail system, so it would take about, I think it said 16 hours to get from New York to LA, and that would be with about a $50 train ticket. That would be $100 billion over the next 8 years to create that high-speed rail system. Those are just a couple things that we could spend money on instead of provoking these wars and fighting throughout the world. And like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be upset with me posting this. I know a lot of people are going to be upset with the things that I'm saying, or maybe not even agree with the things that I think we should spend our money on. But at the very least, I think we need to start questioning what our country is doing. We know, right? And people have voiced their concerns about the different parties and about the different things going on. And frankly, I don't think that there's really anybody advocating for what Americans actually want. Because quite frankly, none of our politicians really listen to us or really seem to care at all. And I don't even want to get started on the things going on with the railroad unions. But if you look into what's going on with the railroad unions, it's pretty clear that our government does not value the middle class, the working class. What our country values is capital, it values money, it values profits, it values corporations, and that's essentially what is going on, right? And if we allow our government to continue to fund and support this military industrial complex, our country is going to, and our infrastructure is going to continue to worsen, right? And I hope that you guys will watch this video, and I hope that you will start to look into these things yourselves. And even if you don't agree with me, I don't really care. All I want is for us to actually just stop and think for a second about what we're doing. And like I said, I think we're all just so distracted with things going on in our everyday lives, and honestly, just watching like NFL football and college football, like these things are distractions from things that actually matter in the world. Who cares if we have the freedom to watch NFL football if we have half of our population being illiterate, right? Who cares about going to Broadway and watching these shows, or freedoms to do that, if a large portion of our country has home instability or homelessness, right? And there are a lot of Americans that are struggling because we just refuse to address these problems that exist in our country when we clearly have the money and the funds to take care of these things. So my challenge for you guys is to actually hold our politicians accountable and hold each other accountable, and that we actually do something to fix these problems.